I've been married to my wife for 4 years now. Though our time as husband and wife is still relatively fresh, we dated for 2 years before making things official. Our bond always felt solid, no visible cracks, no reason to doubt each other. The love we shared was real, and during those early years, we built a foundation of trust that felt unshakable. I'm 30 now and she's 26. What shattered that illusion happened on the 4th of July at a party thrown by one of her friends. But before jumping into that night, let me set the stage a bit. Roughly a week before the holiday, my wife told me her close friend was throwing a get-together and invited both of us to join. Normally, we'd have our reliable babysitter watch our 3-year-old, and we always made sure to give her enough notice. This time, though, my wife let me know she'd already checked in with the sitter but was told she was fully booked for the night. Naturally, I was disappointed. Ever since our child was born, uninterrupted time with my wife had become rare, and I'd been looking forward to this event. Still, she expressed how much she wanted to attend and suggested that I stay home with the baby so she could go. I didn't want to rain on her parade, so I told her it was fine. I'd take care of things at home. That's when the situation took a strange turn. Now, my wife is 26, but her friend, the one hosting the party, is 3 years younger and lives a more carefree, single lifestyle. I'd never been a fan of hers. I didn't want to come off as controlling, but I did mention to my wife that she should be cautious about how much she let that friend influence her. On the morning of July 4th, something just didn't sit right with me. So I did something out of the ordinary. I reached out to the babysitter myself. Usually, my wife handled that kind of thing, so I had to dig through her phone to find the number. My plan was simple: offer the sitter more money per hour and see if she'd reconsider. If she agreed, I'd surprise my wife later by showing up to the party with her. That was the idea anyway. But things started falling apart the moment I made the call. The sitter sounded puzzled when I asked if she could help out that night. She told me it was the first she'd heard of it. My wife hadn't contacted her at all. That hit me like a punch to the gut. Why would my wife lie about something so small? What was she really doing that night? Trying to keep calm, I asked if the sitter could still come by around 10 p.m. She agreed. Before we hung up, I asked her to keep it between us. I told her I wanted it to be a surprise for my wife. When she mentioned that I had said my wife had tried to book the night, I quickly covered, saying we were unsure if we were going out but changed our minds last minute. That night, my wife left around 8 p.m. as planned. Once the sitter arrived, I waited until everything at home was settled, then made my way to the party she told me about. I wasn't sure what I'd find. I even suspected she might not be there at all. But to my surprise, she was. Her friend greeted me at the door, clearly shocked to see me. She quickly called my wife over, and her reaction was telling. She looked stunned, like she'd seen a ghost. Even though she'd only been gone 3 hours, she looked out of it. Her eyes were red and she already seemed drunk. Her cold response made the air thick with tension. She kept asking why I was there and who was watching our kid. I told her everything was fine. The sitter was home, and I just wanted us to enjoy the night together and catch the fireworks. The party wasn't huge, maybe 15 to 20 people squeezed into a modest house, but what stood out immediately was the guy-to-girl ratio. There were way more men than women, probably 2:1. We tried to move past the awkwardness, but the whole situation gnawed at me. I couldn't shake the lie about the babysitter. Soon the party shifted toward a rowdy game of truth or dare. I heard someone suggest continuing the game, which only added to my unease. I figured I'd keep myself occupied, so I joined a group of guys hanging out nearby. Loud, clearly buzzed, but friendly. As time went on, my wife's mood shifted. She grew restless and kept saying she wanted to leave, which only raised more questions in my mind. Her urgency to go made me feel like something was being covered up. I told her we could leave soon, but I wanted to grab a drink or two since I just arrived. I headed into the kitchen and started chatting with a guy I didn't know. After introducing myself, I casually asked how he was liking the party. He smiled, said he was having a blast, and we continued talking. Trying to sound casual, I joked that I was thinking of talking to one of the girls at the party but wasn't sure who was single. I started pointing out a few women at random, and he helped me figure out who was taken and who might be open to conversation. Eventually, I asked for his thoughts about her. He glanced over, nodded, and admitted she was attractive, but quickly added that she was already spoken for. According to him, she'd shown up with someone he personally knew. They weren't a couple, but he called the guy a friend and said she was off limits because of that. Playing along, I acted intrigued and asked him to tell me more about this man she came with. Without hesitation, he began describing the guy, my wife's affair partner. He explained that the two had first met at a concert and had been seeing each other since then. My heart sank. The timeline lined up exactly. I remembered that concert. I had gone with her. The only time we weren't together that night was when she insisted on going alone to grab snacks. I thought nothing of it at the time. Maybe the lines were long, or she had to use the restroom. But now everything clicked into place. That concert had happened about a month ago. And since then, my wife had started leaving the house more often than usual. She even took a short trip out of town. Suddenly, all those moments felt like puzzle pieces falling into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. The guy kept talking like he was proud of what his friend had going on with my wife. He spoke about her like she was some kind of trophy. Then he casually mentioned he only came to the party because he had his eye on her friend, who he described as wild and carefree. I tried to stay calm, but I don't know if my expression gave away how wrecked I felt inside. Just then, my wife's friend joined the conversation, probably realizing I was starting to connect the dots. But it was too late. I could tell from her face that she knew what was going on. She was part of it. She knew everything. I excused myself from the chat, but before walking away, I asked where my wife was. Her friend pointed toward the patio. That's where I found her, locked in what looked like a tense conversation with the same man that had been described to me. Maybe they were arguing, or maybe she was trying to convince him of something. Either way, I walked straight over and introduced myself. Before I could say anything else, my wife quickly stepped in, grabbing my arm and urging me to leave with her. But I shook her hand off and told her flatly that if she wanted to go, she could. I wasn't done here. Then I turned to the guy and looked him in the eye. "I'm her husband," I said. The words came out cold and clear. I wasn't trying to start a fight. I just wanted to make it known that I had figured everything out. I wanted him to understand who I was, and I wanted her to see that the truth was finally out. I asked him straight up whether he knew she was married when they got involved. My tone was calm but firm. I wasn't trying to cause a scene at the party, but I needed an honest answer. My wife, now visibly panicking, kept apologizing and trying to pull me away. The guy saw the bottle I was holding, probably thought I was about to lose it, and realized he had no backup in this situation. He folded quickly, apologized, and said he had no idea she was married when things first started between them. I asked how long it had been going on. He answered, that was all I needed. I told him to have a good night, turned around, and left. I walked out of that house, got in my car, and drove home in silence. When we got back, I told her I wanted a divorce. I didn't yell, I didn't need to. She knew exactly why. That night, I checked into a hotel, and that's where I'm writing this now. Putting this all down helps me process it a little, like a form of therapy. Right now, I don't know what comes next. I've never been through a divorce before. I have no idea how co-parenting works, especially since I didn't grow up with divorced parents myself. What I do know is that I can't be around her. Just the thought of seeing her again makes me feel physically sick. I'll probably write more when I figure out what to do, but right now I'm lost.